So, pool came yesterday. You know, Minky jumped up on the pool last year twice and put holes in it. And so I ordered a replacement. I didn't get a deep one this time. You can see it doesn't look very deep. And I haven't started putting water in yet because there's a low side that I want to get some sand and fill in there to bring it up level all the way around. But it's not quite 3 foot tall. But this is the thing. Besides the random time when the grandkids come over to swim, and I know that they enjoy having a deeper pool, this is only basically for me to float on, like after I've mowed, I jump in to cool off in the summer, or to float, with my Tanner floater bed. And then sometimes when I think Levi's had too much time in the house, I send him to jump or to swim. And he doesn't swim. I mean, Levi can swim like a fish, and he has always been able to swim good, even when we were little bitty living up on the hill back there. So I don't know if any of y'all know that my first little house that I built when the boys were little was up there in the field. You can just barely see past the my new feed room. You can see the roof. Let me see if I can. So the roof of that awning, that's where some of Dad's goats are. This roof up there. Let me get my finger in this. Right there. There's a roof right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. My finger looks stupid. But yeah, my husband, Levi's daddy, and I built that big old carport thing. We parked a boat and his truck in it. And then we had a small shed off to the other side that had a carport on the other side, on the one side of it for my car. But I built the house. It was a 20 by 30. Small little house. It had a living room, kitchen. In the front, it's like we literally split it down the middle. So it was 30 foot long, but that 20 foot deep, 10 foot of it, and then we built a wall all the way across. 30 foot long wall right in the center. And on that side, on the front of that 10 foot wall, was the kitchen on the left and the living room on the right. And then right in the center was a bathroom. And on the left hand side was my bedroom, and on the right hand side of the bathroom was Buddy and Tony's room. They shared. They were little. Buddy was in... I'm trying to think, was Tony even in school then? I can't remember, but I know Buddy was. Maybe if Buddy was in school, he was in 1st or 2nd grade, and Tony would have been in kindergarten. But anyway, I built it. Yeah, he was in school because I had to take his daddy back to court because we had joint custody with no kind of, which was so dumb back then, but no kind of like what to do when he turned school age. And me and his dad had always talked that he would, when we talked about things before we stopped getting along, that when he got school age, he would live here permanently and go to school with Levi. With Buddy. That was his brother, and they would go to school together. But before Tony got school aged, he remarried, and she had 2 boys. And although Tony always got along with, I think he said the oldest one, the younger one and Tony, they had lots of problems between the two. And the stepmother was not real easy on Tony. We had several confrontations with that stepmom. But yeah, so I did have the little house because when we went to court for full custody, I had to show that he had his own room, and they had bunk beds in their room and this, that, and the other. But anyway, so yeah, Tony was in school by the time we actually were living in the house. He was in school, in kindergarten, or I don't think he didn't go to pre-K, so it was kindergarten. But yeah, we had a little tiny house there. And then when I met Levi's dad, we lived in the little house for a while till we built a house in Splendora. And then at some point, and I wasn't planning to talk about all this kind of stuff, but somebody asked earlier in one of the comments a little bit about the background with Levi's dad. Levi's dad to this day can make me laugh. And that is one thing that I think all women should look for in a man. Can he make you smile? Can he make you laugh? Because if it's always serious, it's gonna be a miserable marriage. He could make me laugh even when I was so mad at him that I couldn't stand it. He could make me laugh. And comes Lester up the driveway over there. I don't know if y'all can see that truck going through there. He's got a trailer. I wonder what he did this morning. Anyway, he could make me laugh, and that is one thing that attracted me to him. But after Levi was born, and like I said in a video this morning with the autism awareness, Levi cried a lot. So it was real hard on us. He already had a daughter from a first marriage. She was a teenager when we got together. So that was rough on me because she was determined that me and her dad weren't going to work out. She used to even tell, Lou used to do, not for a job, but Lou would do fingernails. She had all this stuff to do your fingernails, you know, give you a nail and all the stuff, you know, to do fingernails. And, you know, fake nails. And sometimes when we were in a bind and there wasn't a lot of money, we would let Lou do our nails, especially if we had a special occasion coming up. And Jacqueline would go down there and have Lou, and while she was there, and this, you know, this was, but Daniel and Lou hadn't been married that long, and Lou was real hard to, at first. We weren't all close like we are now. We've all been together for 30 years. Hush! But Lou was still new to the family then too. So Jacqueline, I think she thought she had this confidence in Lou that she could tell Lou things about, you know, things she had done or whatever, and it wouldn't get back. But Lou was still part of the family, and she would tell me, this is what she did. Are y'all fighting right now about such and such, such and such? Because she said that she did this and this and this to make you and her dad fight. So I had that relationship with him at first. And at some point, we built a house in Splendora across the street from his mom and dad. And we lived there for a while, but then I started having, you know, like I said, Levi was a hard baby. And it was hard to get him to sleep. If he wasn't sleeping, he was crying. Honey, hush. And I'm just sitting here with this camera, and I hope I'm not boring y'all. But he had two nephews that were donkeys. Can I say donkeys? You know what I mean. They were jackasses. Can we say that? They were jackasses. They were teenagers, and they were hateful. And there was a few acres on the back side of our property, and there was two ways to get to it. You could cross the bridge that would come up beside our house, or you could go down on the other side. It's a little bit further. I mean, you were still in the property, but you would take the fence line and sort of go around and come into that backside. And I don't know how many, they would come across our bridge, and it was our bridge, the bridge we put in to get to where our house was built. And they would use that bridge and come across it with the tractor, a backhoe, just to mess around back there because, you know, Dad and Mom didn't tell them no, they couldn't do that kind of stuff. And I started having problems, like, and I'd go out and I'd say, boys, stop going back and forth. I mean, they back and forth across the bridge all day long. And I would, you know, boys, stop coming across the bridge. Go the other way. The tractor makes too much noise. You know, the tobacco is clunk, clunk. It's the loud motor, and it's the clinking and clanking as they cross that bridge. And I said, stop bringing the backhoe across the bridge. The bridge comes right up to, almost to the house. There was just a very little space. Like when you cross the bridge, you immediately had to sort of take a sharp right, and then you'd go to where we parked our cars. And they would come across, make that sharp right, but then they'd go past our carport and on out into the woods. And I told him, I said, stop coming across the bridge. Use the other way to get back there. If you're going to go back there over and over and over, back and forth, use the other way. And they wouldn't do it. And he would be asleep, and they'd wake him up with that clanking over the bridge, and he'd be screaming again. And so I had lots of problems with that. And I would like tell Levi's dad, Buckshot, I would tell him when we get home, look, you've got to talk to your brother. Ask him to talk to the boys to go use the other way back and forth, across to the back. If they're going to go back there and mess around during the day because they skip school or whatever, they don't need to come across the bridge. It makes too much racket with that tractor. They're using that backhoe when they're just going back and forth. And he didn't want to stir up problems, so he wouldn't say nothing. So every day I dealt with that every day. And that on top of him starting a new business, so he was under a lot of stress. And he also did not handle the crying that Levi did. He didn't have the patience for it, and he'd come home in the evenings, and sometimes when he'd come home, and I'm going to tell you this, that Buckshot was not a heavy drinker. I don't want everybody to think, well, they have a bunch of drinkers in their family. He was a social drinker. If we went out somewhere, he'd have a couple of drinks, but never a drunk person. But it got to where he was coming home, and he'd come in the door with a can of beer. It was like he had already started drinking, and that wasn't the normal thing. When he come home, he always just came home and got a glass of tea or even Kool-Aid sometimes. He was not, and he was coming in, and I didn't know if it was the stress of working, because this new business that he was doing was with his dad also. And his dad and him together clashed a lot. And to this day, his dad has passed away now, and he is still holding down that business. It was it was in the oil field. He was what you call a chemical man. I don't know if they have a real name for it, but he treated all these oil fields. They're these, big barrels of oil you see out by them derricks. He would go back in the woods where those old oil derricks were, and those big old vats full of the oil coming up out of the ground. And I never realized this until he started doing it, but you just don't drive, Exxon just don't drive back there with a big 18-wheeler and load that. It has to meet certain standards, and therefore it had to be treated. And he was the treating man. He knew he would test it and see what chemicals it needed to be sold. And then once it was treated and it was past inspection, then those big 18-wheelers would come in and suck out them vats of oil. But anyway, he was having some issues, stress related with work. Then he was coming home, and he had a teenage daughter that was giving us all kinds of heck. And at some point, he had a breaking point one night, and he did a little bit of cussing and stuff. And I'm not a fighter. I mean, I'll fight if I have to, not fight, but argue and fuss and fight. But I had two boys. This is their stepdad. He worked all the time. He didn't spend a lot of time with them on the weekends. He worked on the weekends. On Sundays, we did Sunday, and then we'd have dinner at Mom's, and he didn't do church with us. It was basically, and I never could get his daughter to go with us. So randomly she would go if he said, you got to do more stuff with her. Well, I would try to do stuff with her, but she started trouble. If she could, she started trouble. And I'm going to go into every little detail because kids are kids, but she was grounded for calling one of those psychic hotlines. You didn't know it till the bill come in, phone bill. Bill came in at $800 and something. And I called this number, and I was like, trying to dispute this. I didn't even know what these charges were for or whatnot. They had her recorded. They do, when they say these could be recorded for monitoring, that's true. It was her little voice not little voice because she was a teenager, but it was her voice giving her the date of birth as my date of birth. She gave her name, this was Jacqueline, with the date of birth of, and my date of birth, to be able to be old enough to make this call. Anyway, her dad wasn't home. I got that bill in. I did the calls while I was, and then I called him and I said, I told him, I said, we've got an $800 bill here. I said, we're already struggling. I'm working and you're working and trying to get this company. I said, we can't do blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, she's going to be grounded. I'm going to ground her. I mean, it didn't matter. The bill still had to be paid. He was going to ground her. So, I was outside mowing. He had already told her that she was grounded and she couldn't do this, she couldn't do that, and this, that, and the other. And I was out mowing, and she wanted to do something, and I said, no, you're grounded. Your dad's already told you you're grounded. That's not going to happen. You racked up that horrible bill. You lied about your age just so you could do that. I said, if you're grounded. It was not only that you did it, but you lied to be able to do it. I said, you're grounded. Your dad told you you're grounded. It's done. No more conversation. And I went on, but she went in the house, slammed the door. I continued to mow. I come around the back of the house with I had a push mower then up there on that hill. And this is when we still lived up there. I come around. In fact, that's when they left. I come around the back of the house pushing that mower mowing, making my way around the back side of the house. And I seen her in the driveway walking. And you had to go down the driveway just like it is now to where it meets like where that Indian is, that big Indian statue up there on the hill. And then you have to cut and go back down Mom and Dad's driveway to get to the road. And I killed the mower and I said, where are you going? And I'm thinking, well, maybe she's going up to Lou's, She don't like me. Maybe she's going there to tell Lou all the stuff she's done or something. But instead, she hollered back. She goes, I'm going to my grandma's. And I said, you're grounded. You can't go to your grandmother's. Get back in this house till your dad gets home. And she goes, I already talked to my dad. So it's late. And any minute, he should be pulling in. But I called him. I said, are you on your way home? And he said, I'm still finishing up such and such. And I said, well, Jacqueline says you gave her permission to go to your mom's. He goes, well, she's unhappy right now. She just got grounded, blah, blah, blah. And I said, so she's grounded. She has to stay here and take a grounding. Anyway, he allowed her to go. And when he came home, we had a big fight. And basically, if she was going, he was going. If he was going to give in to her and harp on me all the time about, I need to spend more time. I need to do more of this. I need to put more discipline on her. Well, I didn't ground her. He did. And then he took it back and let her go. So anyway, we had a horrible fight and he left. And then, like I said, we ended up over there at some point. A few weeks later, we made up and then we moved over there to the new house. It was finished and we moved over there. Daniel and Lou moved into my little house. They were expecting Jake. I was just a few months from having Levi, and then Levi was born. We're still living over there, and then we were having the problems with Levi, the crying and all this kind of stuff. I was not even living over there at 5 months. When Levi was 5 months, I was already gone. I'd already come back to my little house. Daniel and Lou moved into Mom and Dad's upstairs so I could have my little house back, and I came back to my little house, me and 3 boys. Levi was a baby. And yeah, we had a big blow up over there one night too. He came in, said some horrible things. Levi was screaming and crying. I couldn't stop him. He was mad at me because I couldn't make a baby stop crying. It was hard. And I just walked down the hallway. And I opened the boys' room and I said, hey guys, y'all want to have a sleepover with G's tonight? And they, I'm just very calm. Then I go to my room and there was a master bath, but it was not finished yet. We were all sharing the hall bathroom. So the master bath, we turned into a small nursery until we got ready to finish the bathroom. I wasn't there for a finished bathroom. I don't know if he ever finished that bathroom. Because that night, I went in there. I packed him some clothes in a backpack. I went back to the kitchen, got his bottles and things and his formula. And then when the boy went back down the hallway, checking the way, and by that time he come in the back door. He'd gone out the back door to do something. He come back in and he goes, what are you doing? This is just typical men, the way they are. What are you doing? I said, I'm not going to stay here. I can't live like this. I can't have you mad every evening when you come in. You're starting to drink now when you come home. I can't stand that. I said, I'm not staying. I said, you said some horrible things a while ago. I can't help that the baby is the way he is. And at this time, we don't know what problems he's got. We just know he cries a lot. And he's got one eye that goes to the center. I said, I can't do it. And we didn't really fight at that moment. He said and was hateful and mean things before he ever went outside. So the boys come down the hallway and, we were acting like, me with the kids, we're acting like nothing. The boys don't even know anything's happening. They were in their rooms playing games or whatever. Never heard him cussing and all his going-ons before it all happened. So what was done was done. We left. And the truth is, when we came back home, we really never got back together after that. At some point, it wasn't right away, but at some point, I filed for divorce. He wasn't seeing Levi unless he just come over for, a little bit in between his jobs and stuff. In the middle of the day, he would come and swing by and see him. He is still not married to this day. He moved from Splendora to about 45 minutes till you get, he's still out in the country, but 45 minutes away from us. He's just sort of a loner. He tends to just be better by himself, I guess. But he does randomly stop in here and see Levi. He does help me. He doesn't help anymore financially. His business just sort of dwindled down. He's just like this one-man show now, and there's so many bigger companies out there. So he's got a few wells that he keeps up with, but not as much as he did at the beginning. So at some point, he just couldn't help me anymore, and I just took it. I was not going to fight with him. But after we got divorced, Levi, he couldn't take, he never, like I said, he never takes an off day. So the weekends would come, it would be his weekend to get him. There were some Friday nights that he would come and get him. Friday afternoons after school, he would pick him up. And then he would take him, get a hamburger or whatever, then come back home. But then Saturday morning, he would bring him back to me because he had a job to do during the day. Now, there were some times that he took him to jobs, but he didn't always take him on the jobs with him. Normally, he'd bring him back to me Saturday morning. And that's sort of just been the life until he got a little older and was old enough to say, and he would say it, and he'll tell you now, he don't want to go to his dad's. And so like I said, he doesn't go to his dad's anymore. His dad will come by and see him every now and then. And he gives me a little bit of money at Christmas to get him some special something. Or, there have been times like this trampoline right here, and it's old as the hill. I don't even know how many years ago, but I called him. I said, look, his trampoline broke, and that's all he does is jump. He needs a new trampoline. And a couple of weeks later, I was on my bus, but I come home and this trampoline in the box and everything was leaned up against the gate to go to the backyard, and he had picked one up and brought it over here. But there's little things like that he does. He sends him a card for his birthday. If he can come by, he'll stop by, but he never takes him anywhere. Levi has not spent any alone time with his dad in probably 20 years. That's the truth. He has not gone with his dad or spent a night in his dad's house. And Levi's 26. So that's every bit of a night spent in his house. Well, I take that back. Maybe nights spent in his house were not 20 years ago, maybe more like 15. But by the time Levi was 10 or 11 years old, he would just tell him, he goes, I don't want to go to dad's. And then that's why I said earlier, I said I can't say things in front of him because he repeats, because I'll be telling Mama something like, Levi just can't, Buckshot can't handle Levi. He doesn't know it. And then I'll say, your dad's, and he goes, I'm not going with them. He can't handle me. So he hears and listens to everything, and he really comprehends, for the most part, he comprehends it. So that's what he'll tell you. He can't go with his dad. His dad can't handle him. So anyway, that's a little bit about his dad and me. So we're still good friends. I don't talk to him every day. There's been times that Levi's had things, you know, just going on in his life that I didn't even include Buckshot in, because he's just, what would be the point? He's not going to come over. He's not going to come try to help. He's always got an excuse of why he can't do anything. So it's just better just to, you know, Levi is mine, and I have to do what I have to do for him. And I have to make sure he's always happy. And he always was never happy really going with his dad. And as he got older, he just refused to go with his dad. And Buckshot will call him now. He'll call him and goes, "Hey, Buttercup." He'll call him and goes, and he used to call him that when he was little. He'd say, "Hey, Buttercup, I'm going to come pick you up." And I'll say, "Here, your dad wants to talk to you, but I'll put it on speaker." And he goes, "Hey, Buttercup, I'm going to come pick you up." And he'll say, "Just bring me something. I'm going to stay with Mom." So even to this day, he doesn't want to go over there or spend any time. But, anyway, I came out. I was going to check the pool. Like I said, it's got a little bit of a, over here on this right-hand side, close to the power line, the little pole there with the plug for the pump. It's a little low there, and I can see it, so I'm sure y'all can see it. So I come to check that and see how that's. I moved that deck, and I'm going to flip it back over and move it, because this whole pool is way smaller than the first. Not near as deep. And it's not as wide. I think the other one was a 14 or a 16 foot wide circle. And then it was like 42 inches deep. And so now we've gone down to a 12 foot around and barely 3 foot tall. So anyway, and then in a few minutes, I've got some meat in the smoker. Got some pork chops and chicken thighs in the smoker. And I'm going to flip them over in about 10 minutes. But I'm going to work in my garden over there. So I don't know if any of y'all who have seen or noticed, and it's all growed up right now because I haven't done anything in there. Let me walk out here. Oh, I should have been sitting so long on that picnic table and I was sitting crooked. Now one side of my butt hurts. Okay. Honey, come on. Hello, Frodo. That little tree died. I knocked it over with the lawnmower. That was a kumquat. I had it for about 4 years and that freeze killed it. So this is my little raised garden. The gate's a little wonky. It needs to be straightened up. I don't do a big garden like Daddy. It looks like really silly right now because I'm thinking, well, Dad's got this big gigantic garden out back. I don't do a big garden like that. There's bricks here. If you can see, there's bricks down there. I always mow, and that's a whole big thing of stinging grass right there. I don't see any more, but that's a big thing of stinging grass right there. So I'm going to pull these tomato rings out. That little thing leaned up right there, the 2 boards, and then there's wire on it. That's where my cucumbers grow. And so this year I'm going to do 3 tomato plants on just one side. And then I'll do the cucumbers in the back like I do. But then on this side over here, I'll put about 4 squash plants. And then if I want to do another couple of squash, I've thought seriously about coming out on this side and this side with a little bit more box and put, because I eat a whole lot of squash. If I can get squash, I eat squash. Tomatoes, I pick them when they're green. A red tomato in the salad is good, but I love fried green tomatoes. And then my cucumbers, I don't know. I just feel like that's like your southern, and I think that's some weird thing in my head too. Like southern women need to have a little garden. So I've really got to get in here and clean, but I want to, there's some feathers right there, but I don't know what would have been in here. The chickens, that's one of the reasons why I put this high fence all the way around. The chickens have never tried to come in, but maybe actually, oh, those are tiny. Those must be a bird. I bet a cat called bird. Anyway, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pull these rings up. I'm going to pull that wire back there up. Throw those two things, sticks away. Those, I don't know what those were thrown in there for. Probably because I was mowing and tossed them over. Anyway, and then I'll mow this first, and then want this path. And once I've got it mowed or weed eated, then I'll come back and spray it. I usually spray it once a year with the weed killer, and keep it all. It'll stay good. It'll stay good for the growing season. But this is how it looks. It's horrible when the season's over and you've had a whole fall and winter, and now first parts of spring. This is how it looks. It looks horrible, and I've got to get in here working. That's what I was planning to do when I first came out with the phone, was to show y'all this and then pause it, do some work, and show you what it looks finished. But now I've talked so long and I've got meat in the smoker. Guys, give me a minute. I got a couple of things to do. Give me a few minutes. Sam? Sam? Mary? Mary? I love Mary's little face. Look at her right there by herself. Mary! Watch Mary. She wants to give kisses. Watch her at this. I know those other the two little boys will jump up on the gate too, but Mary wants to kiss. Watch me say it now. She won't do it today. Hi guys. Hi baby. Look at this. Hi Mary. Mama. Mary, they were gonna see you kissing, baby girl. Hi babies. Hi loves. Mary, Mary. Mwah, mwah. Gimli. Pippin. Pippin. Be sweet. Hi, baby boy. I seen you earlier. You was being mean. You had Gimli down and was ramming him. That was not sweet. Look at that. Frodo. Bilbo. You are so jealous. Stop it. You are not the only one that lives here now. There's babies in here. They're going to be big one day and they're going to beat you up. Frodo, you too. Frodo. Hi, love. You better be sweet. I am going to start carrying a spanking stick if y'all don't stop. I'm my sweet girl. I'm my sweet girl. All right, I'll be back in a minute. What'd y'all do to that feeder? Y'all are something else. One of my ducks. There's only two left now. One had blood on the back of her neck yesterday. I don't know what that is. Just a little bitty spot. So I don't know. Always something. Fixing to be. The next week or two I'm going to start on the duck house. The thing is, it's going to be hard to get them to go in because they're not used to being pinned. I'll be back in a minute. I got things to do. No, I'll be back in a minute. It's going to be hard to... I'll be back in a minute. Bilbo, stop it. I'm not coming out there. No, I'm not. Nope, I'm not coming back that way. It's like he says come back this way when he does his head. Bilbo. Bilbo, I'll be back in a minute. Look at Frodo. He's peeking at me right there. He went inside. Can y'all see him? See his nose? Look at his nose. Peeking at me. Hi, sweetie. Hi. I'll be back in a minute. They've been dusting right there. That's from the chickens. The chickens have dug those big holes dusting. Ugh. Anyway. That butterfly, he's metal and he fell and he broke in half. I'm going to paint him some kind of bright color and then put him back together, but put 2 screws on each piece of him so he'll still hang on that gate, but looked like he's still put together. I don't know if y'all can understand that, but I'll show y'all that later. Anyway, it is hot today. It is so hot out here. I'm like sweating in the spring. Anyway, y'all can see my halfway done metal in front of the porch, the deck. So I had Daniel come the other, okay. I am, and this is a very large area. Look, see that pipe right there sticking out of the ground? That used to be a water well. You know, the old hand pump one. I wish that we could push that back up and put a pump on it, and it would still, and we would figure out how, I mean, I'd have to have a well guy come out and do it, but make it still pump. That would just be cool to have. But if that doesn't happen, I still have a plan. But my plan was to take the deck that I have now, that long deck, and I had a stick here and it's gone. It was somewhere about right here. So coming off this fence, come straight on down to right here where my foot is, and then it would cut back and go right in front of that picnic. So I'd run right down alongside this that slab. These are just really thin little 2-inch slabs that I built just to have the picnic table so they wouldn't sit in dirt. But I'd come right down the side of this slab, then I would stop and go right back to the corner of the deck right there. So I'd be right there, coming all the way down here. Cause that's a gigantic area in there. I mean, that is a lot of deck. And Daniel goes, that's too much deck. Nobody needs that much deck. Okay, well, we've had movie nights out here especially like during COVID. I hung a big sheet on the side of the barn, the old barn, and set the projector up, and we all would sit out here, and the kids would lay in blankets on the trampoline, and we'd have movie nights. We would do that during COVID when nobody was working, and we'd do that once or twice a week, have a movie night out here. Oh my gosh, I just showed you I have no polish on that one toe. Anyway, okay. So I need to do some work on this. I put that piece of T111 up right there because there's some rot down there and I need to replace it. I replaced some on this corner over here. There's 2 brand new boards on the bottom here, but all this is original from 1940 when they built this. Sears built this. That door wasn't there then. In fact, it looks a little bit more rough since Harvey. The door got twisted during Harvey. I think things that I had in the old barn like pushed against that door. But I built that Dutch door, I don't know, about a year before Harvey. This whole looked so pretty. No grass grew right here. And the grass will, as thick as it looks right now, it will die out when this tree fully leaves and this crepe myrtle fully leaves out. This will start being a little bit more sparse. But I actually bought grass squares, sod, and put out here. So I painted the side of the building. I put the 2 windows in the side. I had planter boxes. See, that one's broke because a cat jumped in it and broke the thing completely off. It all looks so pretty. I built that door. And it looked really good for the whole spring up until about middle of summer the year I did it. And I don't know how many years ago that was. But when Harvey came, it sort of did a lot of damage to the door. The door is sort of twisted now. It hangs. It needs to be jacked up a little bit. But the garage doesn't look all that pretty from all the way around. But I wanted, this side was the yard side, and I wanted it to look good from the yard. So anyway, I've still got a lot of work to do out here. But that's where the deck, I just wanted the deck to be really big. I didn't want the 2 picnic tables to be separated. I wanted to put them like long ways together. So it'd be one long table that we could all sit at when we have outside time. And then a while back, I did a video talking about the bar that I built on the back side of this deck. I don't know if y'all remember me saying that, but this is the bar. It goes the whole length right here of the deck. I'm constantly sitting stuff up here when I've been working out here. But when we have outdoor meals, this is where I sit everything. The plates, the cups, the food, everything sits here. And we're all at these tables. There was a third table. I used to have a third one right here, and I gave it to Buddy and Steph for a birthday party. So they got it to use over there, and then I just told them not to worry about bringing it back. These tables are heavy. Anyway, I have a lot of stuff to do out here, and I want to get that fixed back up. That side, take that piece down and replace them 2 boards in there. I think it's that old 105 siding. You can see where years and years ago, this place had the house, the old house, and the barn, I guess, had some termites. You can see the damage on that one board right there. But this place was treated with something that is not environmentally safe any longer, and it can't be used. But I did have a guy come out one time when I got the new house, because the old house, when I first got it, new to us, but the old house, after we pulled that wall off that was rotten and the roaches just were everywhere. And Dad said, well, I said, well, Nanny didn't leave food out. I don't leave food. He goes, no, these are because of the moisture. It's just the back of the house was rotting. So after that, I called, I want to say it was Terminex, that I did a contract with them. And they come out, you know, every couple of months or once a month or something. Can't remember now how often he came. But when I told him that about the stuff that they had used for the old house, and they treated somehow in the ground for the termites, he said that no house I ever have here will probably ever have a termite problem, because that stuff stays in the ground for so many years. I mean, it just doesn't go away, and I'll probably never have a termite problem in any house I ever put here. So that's a relief. These wild cats cry at me, but then run when I come close. Anyway, guys, I just got things to do. I don't want to get rid of that bench. It was sitting over there by that tree, but I drug it over here, me and Levi. I'm going to repaint it and brighten it up, but it's got to lean up against something because it wants to fall over. But my Mama and Papa, Mama gave that to me before she passed away. I built that potting shed. Actually, I just built that potting shed a year or so ago because I did a video. Lester said do a building project and he would post it. But I did it with my phone, which was an Android, and I did it. I built the whole thing and did it on video, you know, off and on, showing you the steps that it took me to build it. And then when I sent it to him, he said I don't know, there was a problem with getting it to load to his iPhone because I use an Android, so it never got posted. Anyway, I'm just wasting y'all's time. It's 42 minutes. Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm sure some of y'all didn't last 42 minutes. And if you did, there's something wrong with you, because I've done nothing but ramble out here, walking around like a crazy person rambling. He's the one I'm going to keep. There's another one just like him somewhere. Oh, he's out there by the garden. But he's got white legs. I want to keep him. He's got green legs. And then look at her. She's so pretty. Look at her. She's like, well, I'll squat down and wait for you. You're coming at me. Anyway, I got to get rid of him and them other two out there in that field with them ducks. Frodo! He is trying to get in that chicken yard from that backside. Anyway, I'm going to go check this meat. We'll get on in here. Honey, 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 honey. Oh, here's a screw, honey. Yes, Rohan. Come on. Got the washing machine out of here now, so I have more room. It's hot out here in the summer. This is a hot day. It's not even summer and it's hot, because that's why I said this in the summertime. This, as nice as it is, it doesn't get used. It becomes a pass-through. I've got that fan blowing. Now, right now, it's hot out here more than normal because that window unit, and that's why I keep this fan blowing when that window unit's on. My central air is messed up, and I've got to call them out. I think it's a breaker, but I've got to call them out and have them check it. So I've got that window unit going. And when that's going, it gets hotter, you know, because it blows that hot air out the back of it. Oh, yeah, that's looking pretty. I'm going to flip them over. All right, I'm going to pause this, No, you know what? Y'all don't need to listen to any more minutes of this. I might come on and show you the picture of this meat when it's done if y'all want to see some smoked meat. Other than that, I'm going to close this sucker out because I'm sorry that I've held y'all for 40 minutes talking about absolutely nothing. All right. So I'm going to go in the house, check on Levi, get in here, I'm going to cool for a second. It is hot out there, babe. What you watching? All right, pause it for a second. You want to tell everybody hi?
Hi.
Tell them what I got going on outside. Talk loud so they can hear you. On the electric smoker. I'm cooking pork chops and some other meat on the electric smoker. All right, I'm on. What'd you do? Why'd you pull that out? Did you drop some movies?
Yes, we picked them up.
You picked them up, but you didn't put the table back. All right, I'm gonna kill this out. Y'all have a blessed day. Love y'all.